Hi, friends. It's Layla here with Pupdate for the 8-week mark. Puppies turned 8 weeks yesterday. They are growing like crazy. They're getting really chubby and they are running full speed, jumping and playing much, much more. We've started a little bit of sit training and recall training. So I have ground beef. Then I buy organic grass-fed ground beef packages, and then I just have little bits of it, and then I hold it up over their head, which kind of forces them to sit. And they do, and they don't get their treat unless all four paws are on the floor, and they each have to take their turn. So it's been really cute to do that, and it helps them calm down when they come in. So I usually do that when they come in, but they're in and out a lot more now. They're in and out of the house a bunch because I'm also trying to house train them, which they were doing really good with the litter box, but obviously I want them to go outside. So the litter box is still in there and they do use that. However, if they're out running around in the house, which they are a lot more now running around, they're in the kitchen with me a lot. And to prevent little accidents, keeping an eye on them, and then also letting them in and out frequently has been happening. And then if they cry for any reason, then we go straight outside. That's kind of the new protocol. So they learn when they cry, that means you need to go outside. And then they go outside, and then usually they'll make a potty when you put them on the dirt or the grass. And then they get a praise, and then they come back in and get a treat. So that's the system I've been using, and it doesn't happen every time they go in and out just because there's 8 of them and they go in and out a lot, and just trying to manage that. So it's been picking up with the amount of efforts and coordinating where they are in the yard, in the house, in a pen. And it's fun. So that said, they are all coming through the kennel cough very well. And there's just a couple of little sneezes here and there, and then a few little light coughs. So I fully expect by the end of this weekend to not have any more symptoms of that, for it to be fully resolved. And then hopefully a whole week of no symptoms is the goal. And what I would say is, since they are going away just shy of 10 weeks, 12 weeks would be most ideal to keep them, but I think everyone wants their dogs, as well as I would love for you to have them well before Thanksgiving. So in a perfect world, I would keep them until 12 weeks, which is a lot longer, a month longer than most breeders do, because at 12 weeks, their immune systems have developed and they can develop their own antibodies. And so the mother's protective antibodies that get passed through the breast milk are what the puppies use for most of their immune system, and their digestive system isn't fully formed. So part of drinking that milk and having certain diet helps with the flora in the gut, helps to heal up and get the gut working in good order as well. So at 12 weeks, they can produce their own immune response with their own antibody development. Not that they still won't have some from their mom. And at 12 weeks, what I would suggest is you can start taking them around other dogs and around like where other dogs have peed and that kind of stuff, and not be as concerned. I would say they've been around the dogs here in this household. I would say if you have a dog in your household, that's fine, but I wouldn't take them to a dog park or to a veterinary parking lot. There's a ton of sick dogs coming in and out of, and recently vaccinated dogs coming in and out of a vet's office. And anywhere that there's a lot of dogs, just until they hit 12 weeks. And 12 weeks, I think I mapped it out on my calendar, is going to be the 22nd, or excuse me, the 23rd. So the 23rd of November, they will be 12 weeks old. And at that time, you can also get what we call a titer test. A lot of people have been asking me, like, what about vaccines? How come you don't give them any shots? Well, because they can't produce their own antibodies before 12 weeks, there's really no reason to vaccinate them before that. I would rather have their mother's natural defenses through the breast milk do what it can, and to strengthen and fortify them so their own immune systems work great against anything. That said, If you want to vaccinate your dog, by law, I believe only the rabies vaccine is required. I would caution you to do your research, look at some of the sources I have posted, and know for sure what you're getting your dog into, especially because they're very small and all the vaccines are the same size. Doesn't matter if you have a Great Dane or a tiny, tiny dog, which these are right now. That said, if you do a vaccine, you're going to want to do some detox protocols to get some of the chemicals and metals and things that are in those out of your dog as soon as possible. Those are not inert substances. So I would say by law, rabies is required. Boo-Boo doesn't have a rabies as far as I know. She might have before I got her, but I'm not going to inject her with anything else. As far as like parvo and distemper goes, you can get this titer test, which is antibody titers that you can get from the East Bend Animal Hospital, and I'll put a link to that place. They do the titer testing there, and it's not too expensive. I think it escapes me. I think it's like 60 to 100 bucks or something like that. It's not too much. And what you can do at 12 weeks is go in, or 13 weeks, somewhere in there, go in and have the titer test done if you want to know what antibodies your dog already has naturally. And then you can make a decision on what additional vaccinations or any vaccinations that you're going to want to do. Now, keep in mind, the vets get paid very handsomely for vaccinating those pets. And I don't know of very many vets, almost none, that are not going to push that on you and tell you all the terrible stories that your dog could die and all this kind of thing. So the other thing is that you don't really get to go in with your pet anymore, which I find super lame. So I would request if they're going to do an examination, that they come out to your car to examine the pet and that you don't hand them off and take them in. I just feel like you should be there to witness and talk to the doctor while they're examining your pet if you do take them to the vet. My goal is to stay out of a doctor's office because everything that's in there is not natural, and I don't necessarily want. Now, did Boo-Boo have to go to emergency because of her low calcium? She did. And we did get an IV of some, it was a calcium ascorbate. So, but that's a mineral. So it's not like a medicine, it's a little different. But that said, my goal would be to try to recognize the symptoms ahead of time and give her an oral calcium supplement rather than taking her in and spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars to get an IV, which is more of an extreme measure. Also, it's traumatic for Boo-Boo. It's traumatic for pets to go to the vet. So the goal is to keep them out of the vet, to build up a strong, robust, healthy immune system, and then to let their natural defenses do their jobs. So again, if you have concerns about that, or somebody's telling you that you have to, or this or that, it's really your choice. It's your dog. I'm not going to tell you you have to or not. I just want to give you the information so that you can make an educated choice. So that's all I'm going to say about that for now. If you have more questions when you come to get your dog, I can address those with you individually, or you can call me and I'll explain. There's also a great book that I've listed on the website called What Vets Don't Tell You About Vaccines. Very interesting information, especially regarding parvo, which a lot of people are afraid of. And that virus, funny enough, if you look at all the research and go back, didn't exist before they started vaccinating cats for feline enteritis. That virus, a vaccine virus, which is different from a wild virus, jumped over into canines and caused parvo. So there is documentation and research in that book if you want to look it up. It's very fascinating. I asked my vet if she knew about it. She didn't, because they're not going to train that in a traditional medical school, because those medical schools are heavily funded by drug companies and pet food companies that they then sell their products through. So unfortunately, you're going to have to sometimes, again, same thing if you go to your doctor and they're going to try to push all this stuff on you, medicines and such. And there's other ways to do things without being so invasive. So I'm going to be sending home the puppies with a few things. So they're going to get a little bit of the food that they've been eating, a little bit of the dry and the wet, and a little meaty bone for them to take, little raw meaty bone. So you can just see what that's like and how they interact with that food. And you'll have a little bit for your journey home and for the next couple of days. I would suggest that you do go call soon Ben Pet Express if you're here in Central Oregon, or if you're in California, If you're in San Diego area, I would say Pupology, Dexter's Deli probably has or can get, and Westco Pet Foods in Carlsbad. I know for sure I used to get stuff from there. So those pet food stores are great, and you can order the answers in patties or in the carton, like I mentioned on the last video, and you can buy the Ziwi Peak in the smaller sizes without special ordering, but again, it's a lot cheaper to buy it in the big bag. So I would encourage you to stock up on a few foods that they're already eating. And then again, I'm gonna supply a couple things. There's Boo Boo. I'll supply a couple of things so that you'll have something on hand when you leave. I'm back. This is Copper. As you can see, they're getting quite large. They're growing so big. And their sleep and wake schedules are a cycle. So they will play really hard for like 2 to 3 hours, sometimes a little less. And then if they play longer, they're gonna crash longer. So in order to get your puppy on a better schedule, it's really hard with all of them. But when you only have 1 or 2, it'll be a little easier. So trying to get them on a better sleep schedule. They are gonna wake up in the night and need to go potty. They usually wake up, they usually go to bed early, like with me around 8:30. Then they get up at like 10:30, 11. Then they get up at like sometimes 12:30 if they don't get up then. And then sometimes 3 and then 5 or 6. But that's the worst. Sometimes it's only 2 times a night. So you just want to get your dog on a schedule. And when they cry, just take them outside and let them go pee-pees. And then they should be good to go. Oh, he wants down. He wants down. Puppy baby. You're going to want to keep touching their feet a lot and their ears a lot and all over their bodies so that they're not weird when you go to clip their nails or you need to look inside their mouth or you check out any part of their tails. You just want to touch them everywhere so they get used to being touched. They're not weird. Hey, I'm trying to do a video. They're not weird about being touched all over. It's important. I did that with my cats and my dogs, and it makes it a whole lot easier if they get injured or if you need to groom them to have that. And then also like the bathing, you want to make that a positive experience as well as grooming. So you just want to make those things a positive experience and lots of treats and praise and making sure they're comfortable with all those things. I'm trying to think of what else to prepare you. Always carry treats. I will continue to advocate for that. And if you need them to calm down and be quiet and give them something to do, those raw meaty bones are great because they will just sit and chew on that, and that will get them happy with their crate because they kind of want to protect their treat. So they will want to be in somewhere like that, and it's comfortable for them. So if you don't have a crate yet, I would suggest picking one up in preparation and figuring out where in your yard you want them to go to the bathroom. And if you are going to use a litter box, that OcoCat wood, it's made of wood and it smells nice and it's not dusty and it clumps up nicely. If you're going to use a litter box in a pen indoors, I highly suggest doing that, setting that up. And then I'm trying to think what else you might need. A harness, a small harness that's adjustable would be great because collars, you can get them a collar eventually, but that's probably their neck's going to change so much in size, but a harness is going to help them get leash trained a lot earlier. So that's going to be something that you're going to want to get them started on right away, is wearing the harness and then walking on a leash and using treats to lure them rather than to force them to do things. So we'll talk a little bit more about training in our next video, week 9. And just wanted to give you an update. They're all doing great. They're growing like weeds. They're having a blast. They're learning how to be dogs. They're digging holes in the backyard. They're just, check the Instagram feed on the website or follow the Instagram at Intentional Mating if you want to see daily updates. I post like 2 or 3 times a day usually, so check it out. Thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing you on November 6th.